Next on the news.
I hope we don't drop it, and I hope we go far.
The kids of Brooklyn getting in on the action to carry their own Giglio for the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Also, Pope Francis making history by selecting 3 women to join the Vatican body that oversees the selection of new bishops. And the House votes on a pair of bills meant to protect access to abortion. Plus,
we expected to basically transform our understanding of the universe.
Scientists astounded at the new images of God's creation thanks to NASA's latest technology. I'm Emily Drewby. This special edition of Currents News starts right now. It's the sound of home, a neighborhood tradition weighing 4 tons and spanning generations.
Who's next? Step up.
And this is the taste of home, Italian delicacies standing the test of time, brought from the old country to the streets of Brooklyn. Williamsburg has changed a lot over the past century, but one thing has stayed consistent. Come July, St. Paulinus graces the skyline in the Giglio, calling those who moved away back to the city streets. The Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel attracts thousands. It's all about tradition and brute force. Sometimes the biggest might comes from the smallest children. This year's Currents News, Christine Persichetti caught up with the kids, not the capos, rolling up their sleeves.
All right, kids, you ready?
They've been preparing.
Well, I did do a couple push-ups with friends.
And they've been praying.
I hope we don't drop it, and I hope we go far.
Dozens of children in Brooklyn flexing their muscles.
It's gonna be really heavy.
Getting ready to lift the 400-pound children's Giglio at the Our Lady of Mount Carmel feast in Williamsburg.
I'm gonna be a capo, I'm gonna lead the Giglio.
So with the support of their families,
I am tickled pink tonight. I really and truly, it's the best thing.
A blessing from Monsignor Jamie.
Heavenly Father, we come together tonight to lift this children's Giglio.
And a scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel around their necks.
You're gonna wear this when you lift.
It was time. Like pros and like their fathers and grandfathers before them, the children made the Giglio dance as they processed through the feast. And when the work was done, the fun began with games.
Good job.
Rides.
Going on the ride.
You like going on the rides? What about the food?
Yes.
And oh yes, the food.
Lucy hot, Lucy sweet.
Lucy says she has the best.
Because I'm around for close to 50 years. So if I'm around this long, you know it's got to be good.
And after 135 years, this parish perfected the recipe for a good time by bringing our faith onto the streets. In Williamsburg, Christine Persichetti, Currents News.
Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan also joined in on the Williamsburg tradition. He called the feast a great way of professing our love for God.
We celebrate our faith and we hear the message of the Lord in the gospel to love God with everything we have and to love our neighbor as ourselves. God bless you.
Of course, Bishop Brennan also participated in the Giglio lift, but even though he didn't roll up his sleeves and carry the 4-ton, 72-foot-tall tower, he did get to ride on top during the much-loved night lift. There's still time to follow Bishop Brennan's footsteps and join in on the fun. On Saturday, July 16th, Bishop Emeritus Nicholas DiMarzio will celebrate the Feast Day Mass at Our Lady of Mount Carmel at 2 o'clock. And if you miss that, there's still the Old Timers Day Giglio lift on Sunday, July 17th at 3 o'clock. If you've never been out there, you have to. It's a Brooklyn tradition that cannot be missed. The House approved 2 pro-abortion bills on Friday. The measures would protect access to abortion at the federal level. One specifically would protect patients traveling to other states for legal abortions. But the bills are expected to face serious obstacles in the almost evenly split Senate, where Republicans are expected to block it. New York's bishops have been making a promise to help expectant mothers choose life. Ahead of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, they sent out a message to moms in need, saying, "We will not abandon you," promising that any woman, regardless of beliefs or situation, can go to any Catholic church and get the services and support she needs to carry her baby to term. To find churches and pro-life centers near you, just go to nyscatholic.org/help for moms. It's a first for women around the globe. Pope Francis making history by picking 3 women for the group that helps him choose bishops from all over the world. Justin McClellan has the story from the Vatican.
Pope Francis has named 3 women to the dicastery of bishops, the Vatican body responsible for overseeing the selection of new bishops. They are the Salesian Sister Yvonne Rengaud of France, Superior General of the Salesian Sisters of Don Bosco, who in 2019 was appointed as one of the first 7 female members of the Congregation for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. Italian Franciscan Sister Raffaella Petrini. In November, she was named the 2nd highest ranking official of the Vatican city-state, and among her first duties was inaugurating the Vatican's nativity scene in St. Peter's Square, which came from Peru.
È per me un onore e una gioia poter avviare formalmente il mio servizio come segretario generale del Governatorato dello Stato della Città del Vaticano proprio in questa occasione.
And laywoman Dr. Maria Lia Zervino, president of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations. The group is responsible for submitting proposals of new bishops to the Pope for approval, and now, for the first time, the voices of women will be included in forming them.
That was Justin McClellan reporting. While the 3 women will have a big say in how bishops are chosen, they are only part of the process to elect new shepherds in the church. It's a lengthy process, often taking 8 months or more to complete it, and it starts with the bishops themselves. Every bishop may submit to the Archbishop of his province his recommendations. The Archbishop then will usually distribute the candidates' names to all the bishops of the province, and at their annual meeting, a vote is taken. That makes a provincial list. It's then up to the Apostolic Nuncio, the Pope's representative for that country, to oversee the final list of names, including gathering facts and information about the candidates. That info will then go to the dicastery, who reviews it and makes their own recommendations. Their thoughts, including any doubts or questions, go straight to the Pope, and he makes the ultimate decision. Pope Francis's choice then goes back down to the dicastery and then to the nuncio, who contacts the candidate to ask if he will accept the appointment. After months of rumors, Vatican officials are now hinting that a papal trip to Ukraine may be coming soon. According to the Vatican's foreign minister, Archbishop Paul Gallagher, the Holy See will look into the possibility of a papal trip to the war-torn country after Pope Francis returns from Canada at the end of July. Ukraine's top diplomat to the Vatican says such a visit won't just benefit the country's Catholics, but all of its citizens.
It's not a political visit. It's a spiritual blessing of the country. It will be a gesture from any other people in Ukraine that the most respectable religious leader of the world is with Ukraine.
The Ukrainian ambassador says it is important for the Holy Father to see the destruction of the country with his own eyes and to be there to pray with the people for an end to the war. The Holy Father's upcoming trip to Canada will happen from July 24th to the 29th. But that's not the only thing on the Pope's agenda this summer. He will also preside over the August 27th consistory for the creation of 21 new cardinals. After that, he will go on a day trip to the Italian town of L'Aquila, where he will visit the tomb of Pope Celestine V before an August 29th and 30th meeting with cardinals around the world. And then in September, he will beatify by Pope John Paul I on September 4th. He plans to visit Kazakhstan on the 14th to the 15th, and he will visit Assisi and Matera on the 24th and the 25th. As inflation woes grip the nation, retail sales are booming. The Commerce Department says they jumped 1% in June compared to May. Despite this, economists are still trying to predict when and if a recession will happen. Gloria Pasmino has the latest on this unpredictable economy.
From transporting produce to cars all around the country, America's truck drivers haul just about everything to consumers. And they're doing it under increasingly tough conditions.
The pump shut off at $999 and you're not full yet? Never in my life.
Rising prices are leading to canceled orders and slowing demand. Plus, the cost of diesel has increased more than 50% since January.
We got to figure out a way to get these fuel prices back and get back to business.
Truckers are paying more at the pump and prices are rising across the board. But Americans are continuing to spend. According to the Commerce Department, U.S. retail sales rose 1% in June from the month before to $680.6 billion. But there is one small wrinkle. Friday's retail sales data does not adjust for inflation, the highest in 40 years. That means the jump in sales is likely caused by people having to pay more for goods.
There's always the question about the Federal Reserve. What does it do? It is trying to catch up, and the worst thing that can happen is that we end up with high inflation and a recession, and that's the worst outlook.
While increased spending is good for the economy, it poses a challenge for the Federal Reserve, which wants to cool spending as it tries to lower inflation. Gloria Pasmino, Currents News.
Something good that could actually come out of rising inflation. Social Security recipients could see a 10.5% increase in their checks next year. That's according to a new estimate by the advocacy group, the Senior Citizens League. The estimate is based on the June reading for an inflation measure that the Social Security Administration uses to calculate the annual cost of living adjustment. The increase could add $175 to your average monthly retiree benefit, which stands at more than $1,600. But an exact amount on the increase won't be determined until the fall. There's a lot more news headed your way. It was the scene of a devastating mass shooting. Now a supermarket in Buffalo is opening its doors once again. The governor of New York pledging millions of dollars in the fight against gun violence. How the funds will be used. And the faithful band together after several churches in one state are targeted by vandals. A supermarket in Buffalo that was the scene of a mass shooting has reopened. 10 people were shot and killed in a racist attack at the Tops Market back in May. As Brianne Roser reports, most but not all of the staff has returned.
Let the flowing waters remind us of time, current, yet fleeting like life itself.
2 months into the healing, Tops prepares to reopen its doors to the Jefferson Avenue community in East Buffalo.
The people that work here, I would say, are, first of all, the most resilient people I think I've ever met, number one. But they are a wide range of representing the entire community.
Patty says 75% of staff are returning to work, although some have transferred to other stores. One cashier says he's glad to be back.
Well, the sense of community within, this store is just extraordinary, so a lot of people just felt a strong sense of responsibility.
The newly renovated store has more than a fresh look. It has wider aisles with better sight lines, increased professional security, and an emergency evacuation alarm system. They also added an emergency exit, all intended for increased safety for both shoppers and staff.
I would tell you that our associates are telling us they feel very comfortable coming back in. They feel very comfortable with the security around the store.
I definitely feel 100% safer coming back into this establishment, knowing that a lot more security will be present. I definitely feel safer.
And at the front of the store is a memorial with a poem by Buffalo Poet Laureate Jillian Hainsworth.
That was Brian Roser reporting. The president of TOP says the employees returning to work is, quote, a testament to their resiliency. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced Thursday she is allocating millions of dollars in funds for gun violence prevention.
We have a gun violence epidemic here in the state of New York. Full stop. That is a statement of fact. It's a public health crisis. I don't need to tell you that it also takes you down mentally.
The $13.6 million will be used to create more prevention programs and strengthen crime analysis centers across the state. Some of the money will also be added to an emergency fund to help gun violence victims respond to trauma. The move comes after Governor Hochul officially signed a new gun safety bill into law earlier this month. The legislation bans New Yorkers from carrying the weapons into businesses unless the owners put up a sign explicitly saying guns are welcomed. The bill also lays out a strict licensing process for concealed carry permits, and it requires background checks for ammunition sales. Hundreds gathered at St. Rita Catholic High School in Chicago Thursday to pray for the recovery of a paralyzed police officer.
We're coming to pray for a miracle. We're coming to pray for peace.
The service was held at Danny Golden's high school alma mater. It comes just 5 days after the Chicago police officer was shot in the back while breaking up a bar fight. Watching from his hospital bed, Golden expressed his gratitude for everyone's support.
I'll be working hard and get back out there. Again, just thanks for everything to my family, friends. Thanks for everything.
This has to stop. This senseless violence of guns and shooting people. This has to end.
Golden's father says his son, despite what he's going through, is smiling and joking. Danny has been getting a lot of support nationwide. Even Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady reached out and sent his well wishes to him. Also tonight, they are relying on their faith to stay strong.
This is a classic example of being tested by fire, and the St. James Parish community will rise.
Parishioners at this church near Washington, D.C. pulling together after a suspicious fire. It's just one of many around the nation that have been targeted. Right now on Currents News, the latest on the attacks on pro-life after the overturn of Roe v. Wade. The faithful at that Catholic church in Maryland had to attend Mass at a different location because of the damage. Someone set fire to St. Jane Frances de Chantal Church, and 2 other nearby churches were also targeted. Nick Minnock has the details from Bethesda.
Well, people are coming in shocked. There was some small attempt to burn some of the pews. Some books were shredded, and the Stations of the Cross were removed from the wall.
The arson triggered the fire detection system at St. Jane Frances de Chantal Catholic Church around 1:55 a.m. Sunday. And that's when Montgomery County firefighters arrived and put the fire out. This morning, the cleanup began.
Of course, they are concerned that they were allegedly targeted.
Although the investigation is ongoing, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue said there are similarities between the arson and vandalism at St. Jane Frances de Chantal Catholic Church and the arson and vandalism that happened just a few minutes down the road at North Bethesda United Methodist Church.
In both cases, there was some associated vandalism with that. So again, there are similarities, not too far apart, relatively same time of night occurring, and both being churches.
The arson happened at North Bethesda United Methodist Church on Saturday at 2:35 a.m.
Again, this was an arson, intentionally set fires.
And that's not all. A third church was vandalized on the same road. Investigators found headstones broken and wood pieces shattered at Wildwood Baptist Church.
We are a community of faith, and we're deeply committed to resilience and recovering. You know, this is a classic example of being tested by fire, and the St. Jane Parish community will rise and come through this in fine form.
Sunday Mass here ended with this prayer.
And encourage people to pray for whoever would do something like this, that their hearts be healed.
That was Nick Minnock reporting. Just hours after his church was set on fire, the pastor at St. Jane Frances de Chantal reminded his congregation that the church is more than a building, saying, "We are the body of Christ." 3 people have been arrested on more than 100 charges each, accused of leaving hate symbols and white nationalist propaganda all around Hornell, New York. Authorities say worshipers at Rehoboth Deliverance Ministries, a Pentecostal church, discovered a pamphlet with the words Aryan National Army and a swastika attached to the church door. Officers found similar brochures scattered throughout the city, including at a synagogue. Meanwhile, investigations are underway after vandals attacked 2 pro-life pregnancy centers in Massachusetts last week. One, Clearway Clinic, had its doors and windows shattered and the words "Jane's Revenge" spray painted on the walkway by the entrance. Those same words were found just 2 miles away at another pregnancy center called Problem Pregnancy. The facility was drenched in blue and gold paint. Still to come on Currents News, you might want to stay out of the water. Yet another shark attack on the same New York beach. And NASA's latest technology delivering stunning new images of God's creation. Next, a breathtaking look at deep space. If you're heading to a Long Island beach this weekend, you might want to stay out of the water. There have now been 5 shark attacks there in less than a month, and 2 of them happened on the same day. The first incident happened at Smith Point Beach on Wednesday morning when a 41-year-old surfer suffered a 4-inch gash to the leg from what he says was a 4-foot-long shark. Just hours later, another victim was bit while wading in the water at Seaview Beach on Fire Island. Experts say Long Island's shores are seeing more sharks due to cleaner oceans, warmer water temperatures, and a resurgence of bunker fish. Turning now to a view that's truly out of this world. NASA unveiled the first full-color image from its newest telescope last Monday, and God's creation does not disappoint. Amy Kiley has the story on why this technology has even the biggest space enthusiasts excited.
This changes everything, sort of.
We expect it to basically transform our understanding of the universe.
He's talking about the James Webb Space Telescope and what it can reveal.
You're seeing galaxies that are shining around other galaxies, and you're seeing just a small little portion of the universe.
NASA says the telescope captures the deepest images of the universe humans have ever seen. This galaxy cluster is shown as it appeared about 4.6 billion years ago.
What I have seen just moved me.
Frankly, got emotional.
The telescope doesn't just peek into a galaxy far, far away. It looks back in time.
This telescope is exquisitely tuned to observe galaxies forming at the origin of the universe.
That's because it shows stars so distant they might not even exist by the time their light reaches the telescope. In fact, by then, much of that light has stretched into infrared waves, invisible to us, but not to Webb.
Over the 13.5 billion years that the light has been traveling, the universe has been expanding.
And liftoff. That's why the telescope is launching a whole new way to gaze at the stars. I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Truly incredible. Since their release, these remarkable images have wowed people all over the world, including the Jesuits at the Vatican Observatory. The director, Brother Guy Consolmagno, called the images necessary food for the human spirit. And he says in the images, we can see both God's astonishing power and his love of beauty. Be sure to join us next week. Brother Consolmagno will join us on Wednesday to talk more about the incredible impact of this technology, as well as how the work of Catholic priests 150 years ago have led to this moment. Again, that's next Wednesday, July 20th, right here on Currents News. And that is Currents News. I'm Emily Drewby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.